Good evening. I'm glad that you are here for this training. Please remember we will be videotaping this, just so you know, and that videotape will be put online. So if there's anything you should forget tonight or talk to somebody who couldn't make it, let them know it will be online. Give us at least 3-4 days to get it online. It won't be on tomorrow, but we do want you to know that it'll be coming. And because of that, and you guys have to help me with this because I forgot all about it the first one. We need to make sure that any questions get used in the mic, not so that we can hear you here as much, but so that it can go on to the videotape. Does that make sense? So that's why this. And this is yellow. Does this need to be a different color than yellow? Hit it once. Ah, now it's green. See? I knew somebody would know what to do. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and just start with a word of prayer. Loving and gracious God, we thank you this evening for this opportunity to come and learn. For I thank you, Father, for all of these who have hearts of service, all of these who have dedicated themselves not only to you, Lord, but to the service of your church. And I thank you, Father, that they are here. And Lord, some of them have been doing this for a long time, and they're going to have so much to offer. And so, Lord, let everything that we talk about tonight honor you and better your church, that others may come to know your saving love in Jesus and be transformed by it. We just ask it all in Christ's name. Amen. All right, did everyone get one of the green papers? All right, perfect, because we're going to use that a lot tonight. So right now we are talking to the greeters. All of you are greeters on Sunday morning. Right now the church has 2 stations for greeters, one being right up here at the Circle Drive and the other being at door 7. So those are the 2 places where we station greeters at this point in time. So let's go ahead and we're going to start with what's called the instructions on the inside of your green pamphlet. We're going to work through some of those. If there are questions, please let me know, and then we will continue to work from there. So first of all, greeters should be here at the church and in place 20 minutes before their service starts. So that is at the church and in place 20 minutes before the service starts. 20 minutes before the service starts, you should be in place here at the church, right? Makes sense? Everyone got that? Okay. Second, we have some issues in terms of where people stand. The old place when I first came here was across from the door. That's where greeters stand. Actually, we changed that about 3 years ago, but we haven't been able to get that out to everybody. So let me remind you where you are to stand. So if you are greeter, it doesn't matter which door you are greeting at the door, not across from the door, so that then you can open the door for those who are coming in. Does that make sense? Here's what happens. People will stand on the opposite side, and then there's all this traffic, and then it's hard for people to cross or know what's going on. So that's why we need you on the door side, not across from the door. That's especially true for door 7. And what we would ask is that you open the door for those coming in. Just the first door. Do not worry about the second door. And never prop the second door open. It completely throws off the system here in the church when we do that, especially on really high humid days. So never prop the second door, the one that goes outside, open. Just don't do that. You can continue to open that first door, the inside door. Okay, but we don't want you to prop that one open. We want you to open it for them. Does that make sense? Okay, any questions about that? Where to stand? Whoop. Yes.
Thank you. I normally cover the circle door, and one of the things that amazes me when you come to this church is the doors are closed when you arrive.
Right.
So you come up to the church, is that a welcome sign? So I always stand on the outside door, whether it be the winter or the summer, and I greet people there and open that door. I think
you can
that's
do
more
that.
Personal than having somebody trying to struggle to open that door while
Sure.
you sit inside the doors.
Yeah, you can do it. You are always welcome to stand on the outside and open that door. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. What we don't want you to do is, one, prop that door open. And second of all, the only reason we say the inside is generally because of weather. Generally, when it's really cold, you're not going to want to stand out there when it's really cold, when it's raining, those type things. But if the weather is okay for you to do that, that would be optimal for you to stand and open the outside door and then let them do the inside door. Does that make sense? So yeah, no, that's a great thing. Yeah, absolutely. Any other things about where to stand or how to stand? All right. Okay. Again, watch for people who may need assistance getting to the door. So if you see people who have walkers, wheelchairs, canes, those type things, always go and open both doors for them. That's just going to be easiest, and that's the easiest way to do it. What you need to remember is the day in which you are serving, you are the host. And that's what I want you to get into your mindset. You are the host for that service. And so we need you to be in the mindset of hosting, because a host does everything they can to make their guests comfortable, don't they? To make those. And that's what we want you to do. You will notice on the very front of your pamphlet, it gives you why we do this. It says we greet to glorify God. Well, actually, to glorify God by making the worship service feel inviting and comfortable to every person that enters the sanctuary. That's why we do this. And so you are the host. It is up to you to help the people to feel comfortable, to feel as though they've been invited in. All right? So that's going to be your job. So on those Sundays when you're serving as a greeter, just think in your mind, okay, today's my day to host. To make sure that they feel as comfortable and as invited as they possibly can. That is what your job will be. All right. So, also, once they come in, offer to answer any questions that they may have or direct them. Things like when people first enter in, they don't know where restrooms is. Sometimes they come in and they're looking for a restroom. Help them to know where the restroom is. It is very hard to know where to hang your coat when you first walk in. You don't see any coat racks whatsoever. You have no idea where they are. So help point the coat racks out for them to let them know where they can go for that. Also, if they have children or need to know anything about the children's services, direct them to guest services, because guest services are going to learn what their job is, and they have a whole job to deal with that. So the greeter's job is to get them to the guest service desk, which will then help them to get to where they need to go. Does that make sense? Because you guys can't really leave your spot. We don't want you to leave your spot as a greeter. You're hosting. You can't really leave the door when you're hosting. But the guest service people will be able to leave, and they'll learn more about that in their particular training. So if there are other questions that they have or they need to get somewhere, send them to guest services, and guest services will get them to where they need to go. But it's your job to get them to the guest services desk. And if you can, make sure to take them. When you're hosting, most of the time you don't tell somebody, okay, come in the house, go down the hallway, turn left. You take them to where you want them to go so that they feel more invited and more comfortable. So that's why we're trying to get people in their heads, take people rather than just tell people where to go. Take them. And so for the greeter's job, you really need to know to take them to guest services. And then guest services will get them to where they need to go. Does that make sense? Any questions about any of that? All right. We want you to focus on those entering the building, not those already in the building. And sometimes that'll happen. People will be greeters, but they've seen somebody that they want to talk to, and so they leave their spot and they go and they talk to 2 or 3 other people, and while they're doing that, 2 people have walked in. And they may go over and say hello, but they weren't there because they were concentrating on people who were already here. So as a host, your job is to help focus on those who are entering in, to invite them and to make them feel comfortable. So please try and always focus on those coming in and think about how can I be the best host to those coming in, not to worry about those who are already in. If they're already in here, the ushers who have already been trained and guest services will take care of them. Greeters focus on those who are coming in, not those who are already in the building. Does that make sense? Now, that does not mean I want you to ignore everybody that's in the building. So please don't get to a point where you see somebody in need and you go, oh wait, she told me not to focus on them. I see the need, but I'm just going to ignore it. No. Out of Christian love and service, of course, do what you can do. But know where your focus is and where you can do the best. All right. Please stay in position, which means at your doors until the end of the first song. So for first and third services, it's end of the first hymn. For the 9:30 service, it's going to be the end of the first song that the band is playing. And most of the time, you'll kind of know what that is because, well, they start the second song. So that'll tell you it's the end of the first song. And part of the reason is lots of times people who are guests generally arrive at two different times, early or late. They're not going to arrive on time. And so we want you to stay in position in anticipation of those who might be arriving late to help them. Also, people who are arriving late are people who might be in more need. People with walkers, wheelchairs, canes. Sometimes it's taken them, especially in winter, a little bit longer to get here. And so we want to make sure that we are in position to help them when they come to the door, rather than we've already left and simply abandoned them. So that's why stay until the first song. And if they're going to come late, more than likely they're going to be in the building. But again, if you see somebody just parking, it's the end of the first song in your mind, please don't think, oh, she said I can go, I'm leaving. Let them come in. Remember, you are hosting. And so whatever you can do to be the best host that you can be, that is your job. All right? This is our service to the Lord. Whenever we do it as if doing it unto the Lord. And that helps give us joy. I hope that you'll have joy in your greeting, knowing that you are doing this to serve God and serve your church, to make a difference and to show the love of Jesus to all who enter in. All right? Because that really is important. Okay, a couple things that you're going to need to know. Know where the nursery is and know where the kid check station is. Know where the elevators are. All of those things people might need to know. Just know where they are. And again, you're not going to take them. Guest services will take them to those places. But it's still important for you to know where they are. Does that make sense? You're the host. The host should at least know all the rooms in their house. Yeah.
Where is kid check-in part?
Good question. Right now, kid check-in is in two different places. One is back in the, back in the kids section. So out by by the preschool. That door, that's one. The other one is, as soon as you walk out this door, look to your left, and you'll see a station right there. The computer's gone, but the other stuff, that's a kid check station right there. Now, I will tell you, Marlene and her group is evaluating that, whether or not to put both of them in the back, and I think that's where they're going to go. But for now, they are in those two separate places. So if somebody comes in with a child, they will not be able to put them into Sunday school or any of the other kids programs until they have gone through Kid Check. Okay? And so guest services will know to take them back to that preschool area, the children's area, and there will be somebody there then who will help them to go through that process. And that's the other thing we'll have in place. Somebody will always be there to help people to go through that process. Okay? Any other questions about that?
Where the elevator is, or the nursery.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do a tour right afterwards. And we'll make sure to take you on a tour so that you can see where the elevator is, where those kid check stations are, all of that. Okay? So we'll do a tour right afterwards so you can know that. Any other questions around that? Okay. One of the new jobs for the greeters is to please make sure the sidewalk is clear and salted. That does not mean you have to go out and shovel it. It should already be shoveled. But as you know, sometimes it begins to snow and do other things between services, and we can't get to it. So it's going to be up to the greeters to clearly watch that, to make sure, to see, does it need salt? Does it need... Now, there may be somebody around to tell them, will you please go out and shovel? But the greeters are in charge of watching that during their time, making sure that it doesn't need more salt or things don't need shoveled off, because the people doing that may not fully be aware between services. Does that make sense?
Do we notify if we see that it needs attention?
There will be somebody around. I can't tell you a specific name right now, but there'll be somebody around that you can go to because we always have people on duty who are in charge of that. But because there's so much territory, sometimes they don't see it. And so that's why we'll have you guys kind of let them know. And it will be printed who's in charge each week. Okay? Yes. 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 There's always a snow removal team. They are here very, very early in the morning, and they're the ones who clear all the sidewalks and salt. And they are assigned week by week, so we will have that printed. Any other questions about that? Okay. And if somebody's coming up and you see that they might be a little slick, go out and give them a hand if you can. You know what I mean? And help them come in. Again, you're the host. Whatever you can do to help them, we would ask that you do it. Go that extra mile. Just go the extra mile in any way that you can. Okay. Also, be sure you know where the guest service station is. It's very close to you, but be aware. And just take a look at who's working at it. So you'll know who's working at it. So in the moment, you can see if that person is there. They may have just taken somebody. So you may have to wait a second until they return. So just try and take note of who is at the guest services station so that you can then take them over to the guest services when that person is there. Make sense? Okay, so just take note of that. We also want you to do a couple of the things. One of those is know what to do in an emergency. Before I get that, let's look at those expectations that are on top, right above the instructions. Again, 20 minutes before, dress should be modest but comfortable. And I'm going to trust that you're going to know what that is. Name tags. There is a greeter name tag, correct? But somebody can't come in and go, well, hello, greeter. That's not very helpful. Please make sure you're always wearing the two name tags. Greeter, your name tag. Greeter, your name tag. Or greeter, your name tag. Whatever it is. But make sure you have both on. Make sure you have a name tag. If you're the host, you should have a name tag. People should know. It tells you in there where to go if you don't have a name tag, right? And it tells you how much they are. They can be bought through the office for either $10 or $12, depending on the type. There's a pin type and a magnet type. This is the magnet type if you want to see that at all tonight. So please make sure that you wear both of those. If you know you're going to be absent, please find somebody to fill your spot. Please don't let the office try and do that. They don't have the time. And please try and get that done and notify the office by Thursday. Thursday at close, 4 o'clock. The reason being, those again are printed in the bulletin. We print who's greeting. And so those bulletins generally either get run last thing Thursday or first thing on Friday. So that's why we need that information. So please find your replacement, and when you got your schedule, you got the names of the other people. So you know who they are. All right? Find your replacement, let the church office know so that can be changed in the bulletin. Any questions about that?
I didn't know if everybody has this list of who the greeters are.
They do.
She said they didn't have one.
Maybe I just I made a file for things, so.
Okay, you should. If you don't, the office has them.
'Cause that's
But
the
they
only
were
way you
sent
can
out.
get your replacement.
Right. They were sent out with the schedules. Yep. Yeah, so if for some reason you don't, we have plenty in the office and we can get you one. So if you should lose yours or something, again, just contact the office. We can either send it to you electronically, mail it to you, or you can pick it up. So don't worry, even if you lose it, we've got plenty that we can get that information to you. Okay? Any other questions about that? Okay, let's talk emergencies. All right. Some of this you're not in charge of, but I figure the more people who know what's going to happen in an emergency, the better. Okay? So we're going to go over this just real quick so you have a better understanding. First of all, some of the emergencies that can happen is for one reason or another we have to call an ambulance. Sometimes that's because somebody has slipped outside. Sometimes it's because something has happened during the worship service, or somebody has fallen out in the narthex or somewhere else. It is up to the ushers to call 911. They already know this, okay? So you do not have to make that call. If you see somebody go down, though, again, you're the host. Do everything you can to help them feel comfortable. If somebody has fallen, though, do not pick them up. Leave them where they are because you don't know what damage has been done unless they themselves want to get up. If they themselves want to get up and you want to help them to do that, you can, but make sure you have checked it out first. Make sure that they've bent their foot and bent their ankle and tried to move their hip and done all that before they try and get up. Because sometimes when you fall, you can go in immediate shock and you don't feel the pain. And you don't realize how hurt you are. All right, so I think we called the ambulance 3 times just last winter for different people who fell and did different things. So it does happen. So, but be aware that the ushers will take care of that. If there is a fire, the ushers as well as everyone else from the church needs to help people evacuate the church. You're going to go out the closest door. Those closest doors are the front doors. We have a side door over here. You might think that there's a side door over here, but as you can see, it would be hard to get out that door. And apparently, for some reason, the fire marshal never gets upset with that. I don't understand it, but I'm not going to question it. So you either have to go out this way or you're going to have to go out those doors. Okay? And the ushers have certain responsibilities that they're already aware of. We went through that in the training usher in terms of what they're responsible for in case of a fire, but it's simply to get out. Now here's what you need to know in case a parent asks, what happens to my child if the children have to evacuate? At the far end of the parking lot, there's a grassy area. It's the area where there's a garden. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, as you drive out today, just drive by that. That is where all children will be taken if they have to evacuate. Parents can then get their children at that place once everything is safe. But the teachers will know exactly what to do and to get those children out. So the parent does not have to go and get that child. They simply have to evacuate. Now, if they're going to run and get that child, you can't stop them. So don't even try. But know that the teachers know exactly what they are to do in the case of a fire and where those children will be. Now, the parents will also be notified to know exactly where, but sometimes in the heat of it, you don't remember those things. That's why we try and get that word out to as many people as we can so that people will know where and how that will happen. Any questions about that? Okay, let's move on then. In case you should need it. Let's say somebody comes into the church and I don't know what will happen, but as they were leaving their car, they got a paper cut and it's bleeding. Or I don't know what else it might be, but here's what you need to know. There is a first aid kit that is located in the kitchen. It's right on the counter in the kitchen. It's got Band-Aids. It's got all sorts of stuff in it. Again, we'll take the tour at the end and we'll show you where all of that stuff is. But just know there is a first aid kit there. Don't just tell them you can find the first aid kit in the kitchen. Take them to guest services. Guest services will get them where they need to be. Okay? All right, defibrillator. There is a defibrillator that is in the fellowship hall by room 110, which I always call the corner room because, you can go in and out. There's a defibrillator there on the wall. You, as the greeter, do not need to run and get the defibrillator. The ushers already will have that taken care of. They know they are in charge of going and getting that defibrillator if it is needed. I just want you to know where it is in case something should occur. More people who know where it is, the better off we are. All right, tornado warnings. Again, as a greeter, there's not much you need to know in terms of what to do if there's a tornado warning. But you need to know where to go, and those safe zones are listed. So the safe zones, one is the main restroom, which is right here. There's no windows in it. It's one of the oldest parts of the building, nice and solid stone all the way around it. So that is one of the safety places. That would be for people who cannot do stairs. Remember, especially like in a tornado warning and so forth, you cannot use an elevator. So we will not use the elevator at all. So people who cannot do stairs, they would go to that restroom facility. There is a second restroom facility that is down in the children's wing that also has no windows or anything in it, and that can be used as well. So please be aware of that. There is the basement in the office wing. Next time you come into the office to visit Pat or Carol, please notice there's a stairway that goes right downstairs. Right down in there, there's a very, very large room in the basement. It is unlocked. Actually, it's part of Dave's office now. So, but that is a safe place to go for a tornado. And then also down in the education wing downstairs, there is a room and a restroom. So you can't just go downstairs because there are tons of windows everywhere. But there's a room that you can walk in, and there are no windows in that room, and it's a good sized room. And then the restroom downstairs is also a very large restroom, has a shower in it and everything. And so you can also go in there as well. And those are the safe places for tornadoes. And we just simply want you to be aware. Okay, again, the ushers are the ones who are in charge and taking care of a lot of that. But again, the more people who know, the better. All right. Any questions about any of that? Okay. Yeah, but it won't be on the tape.
Are there any of those areas indicated by a sign?
No. They're
Okay.
not indicated by a sign. And here's what you need to remember. If we're in the middle of service and there's a tornado warning, the pastors are the ones who will direct people and they'll tell them. The ushers also know exactly where they are. They've been given the whole tour. They know where all that is. And the ushers will also help direct people. The ushers have a lot more responsibility now.
I know several years ago we put a red star or whatever on the ceiling. So when you're looking, you knew that the extinguisher was right there. And it helped a lot. For
Yeah, I
what
don't know.
it's
There,
worth.
there may be some things that we can do to better. I don't know what that is yet. So that's something I think we're always looking at and trying to upgrade. So that may be a possibility of looking at that. So yeah, talk to me afterwards and we'll talk more about that and see what the possibilities are. Yes.
When somebody calls 911, they have to tell them which door to come to, right?
Right.
The doors are numbered.
Right?
Okay. So we got to know which door we're at.
Well, that would be the ushers. The ushers will take care of that.
Who is trained to use a defibrillator?
Tons of people, even in this room right now. If you've been trained to use a defibrillator, would you raise your hand? Like, hands all over the place. We have tons and tons of people in this church who've been trained. Yeah, so that's not something I'm too worried about. And also, in case somebody wants to know, there are YouTube videos about defibrillators all over the place that people can watch as well.
Just to clarify,
Mm-hmm.
you say we have to know like where the nursery is and like the kid check, but like we direct them to guest services and they know. We just have to know.
I just want you to know where they are. That way, if somebody asks you, where do I go to get my child at the end, if you're in conversation with people and stuff, it's just good to know that stuff. Yep. Yep. Any other questions?
I hate to ask this question, but what happens if someone comes in with a weapon?
All right, we did talk about this with the ushers. Let's say the weapon people are always most afraid of is a gun. First of all, you need to know that the United Methodist Church is a weapon-free campus. No weapons on the campus. But here's what you also need to know. We're not idiots. We know there are concealed weapons on the premises. And after some of the recent events, some people in the church have come up to me and said, I want you to know I'm always carrying. I'm like, please know we're a weapon-free zone. But they still want me to know that. If somebody comes in with a weapon, there's not much we can do. You do not have any responsibility whatsoever on your shoulders if somebody comes in with a weapon. If you choose to do something about it, you choose to do something about it. But nobody is asking you to do something about it. Some of the greatest things you can do: 1, lay down and play dead. 2, hide. Okay? If something has occurred and it's been resolved, and there are people who are injured, then do your best to help those who are injured until help can get here. But there is no overarching plan, and it's not on anyone's shoulders to do something. If they choose to, they choose to, but we cannot put that on anyone to do something. Does that make sense? Because we just don't know. The likelihood of this to happen is so nil. It is so nil. But again, we never know. Any other questions or anything about that?
Do we notify anybody if something shady, it just doesn't feel right?
What she asked is, because it wasn't on the mic, if there's something shady, do we notify anyone? Well, I'm not sure what shady means. You better be very careful with gut feelings. Very careful with gut feelings. Because here, sometimes we have people who will come in on Sunday morning looking for help. And let me tell you, sometimes they can give you an awkward feeling. But they're not going to do anything except they want money. Now here's what you should know, especially if they're coming in looking for the pastor for help. We give no help out on Sunday mornings. They have to come back on Monday. No help is given on Sunday mornings. They have to come back on Monday, and we give them nothing. We do not give money out at all, out of parishioners' pockets, out of anything else. Because as soon as we do that, and word gets out that we do that, well, there'll be tons. And we have a process to deal with that. And so we need to let the process work. Part of that process is them coming in on Monday and allowing the pastors to work with them. Because Kara and I are the only ones who have access. And then we don't even give cash. We have gift cards, but there's a whole process through those gift cards. Okay? So you always got to be really careful with gut feelings. Okay? So if you see somebody coming in with, guns at their side, alert the ushers, who will alert the pastor, who by then, they may be in here. I mean, the timing is so hard. It's very hard to get a plan. Very hard to get any sort of plan. Okay? So I wish we could feel 100% safe, but our reality is we're never 100% safe. We like to think we are. We like that bubble around us, but we're really not. And the likelihood of something actually happening, again, is very nil. Very nil. Any other input or questions or anything around that? It's on.
So just the thing is, your concern, to my point of view, is like if something is happening, we should call the 911. That would be the best thing to do.
Definitely. Somebody will,
If you
yes.
see- yeah, and
Yeah. The ushers are in charge of that.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. And with cell phones nowadays, there's going to be 30 other calls that have already gone. Any other questions? Okay. When you leave your post after greeting, you're pretty much done. There's not much more for greeting after that. So we certainly want to thank you for all that you do and the way in which you will greet, the way in which you will host. And it really makes a difference. We want you to know that you really make a difference in what you do and how you do it. Okay? And so that really is important. Yes, Shirley.
Is there a safe place for ladies to leave their purses while they're greeting?
I don't know. That hasn't been asked. Guest services. You can put them underneath in guest services. That's a good thing. Yeah.
I always thought that the greeter was to go during the last hymn of the service, to go back to their position because those people need help to get out. So I know Dave always stays 15 minutes afterwards.
For greeting?
Yeah, to help people out the door. And he was told that at one time, I believe.
I'm not aware of that, and I don't know about that one. I think that is a wonderful thing to do.
Well, yeah.
That's a wonderful
You
thing
help
to
them
do.
in, but you don't help them out.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful thing to do. If people want to go back and do that, but we have not put that in the. But yeah, absolutely. As your host, it's always good to help them in and also help them out.
We have another service except for the last service.
We do, but if they're not here until 20 minutes before and it gets out a half hour before, we've got that 10 minutes in between, there won't be somebody there. So yeah, so if you have that ability and you can, I think that would be fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Anything else?
Turn your greeting card in.
Turn your what?
Your greeter tag.
Oh yeah, turn your tag back in. It says greeter. Yeah, unless you want to take that to the restaurant and try and get a part-time job there. Yeah. The greeter badges are located in the credenza, on the top of the credenza, which is right outside this door to the left. I'll show you that in the tour. Okay? Anything else? All right, well, thank you for coming. Those who need the tour, if you'll stay, and those who don't, you can go, and we'll go from there.